So a hell of an interview on the Lex Friedman podcast that I hope you missed was with Lex and Donald Hoffman, and they were actually talking a lot about the existential emotional processing of seeing all this crazy shit. So Donald Hoffman is kind of leading the way on seeing that we don't see all reality. I'm watching all these people doing all these fucking interviews, and then like here's Donald Hoffman. He had just a very different state about him. He didn't have the like hey cool, look at me, TED Talk, isn't this great? He had kind of more of like, shit. You know, he had this kind of deep kind of heaviness to him that really stood out from watching all these people that are, you know, studying science and shit. And so I'm like, all right, what the hell is this guy about? And so he talks about how you can't see all of reality. And then, you know, he gives the famous example of the beer bottle fucking Beatles where they're like, they're programmed to go find something large and bumpy and this color and, you know, thinking it's a female, but really they're not looking for a female. They're just looking for something that matches these little data points. And if a bottle matches up, then they just go find that, right? And so it's like, wait a minute. So it's like we're not really looking for reality. We're just looking for these little hacks, these little data things. So this has been a big foundational thing for us, Donald Hoffman, as far as understanding the ops code or getting an evolutionary framework of going, what is going on in here, right? So for example, think about this. I have not been able to see FE for 40 fucking years. I am just now starting to kind of be able to see FE. So it's like I couldn't see it unless I believed it. Like once I know what FE is and I know what TI is and I know all that kind of stuff, when I have people come in their videos and these guys, they have FE. It's like if I know what it is and I can load that program and I can put those lenses on, I'm like, okay, FE, TI, that's what they're doing. And I can load that. I can hold that lever down. It's really, really hard. And then you give me an FE, TI thing. I'm like, there it is. I see it. And I can understand to some degree what it's doing. And then as soon as I take those glasses off, I'm like, oh, this is so hard. I just go back to my SETE life and I'm like, I don't see it. And so it's like, you really scale that out of like, if you go back and watch old videos of yourself when you were in high school, junior high, or interactions you've had with friends or family, or if you're like, look somebody up, you know, on Facebook from years ago and you're like, oh, they were this type. Like, oh, all the stories, like, no wonder they were, and no wonder I was, and like all of a sudden you can see all this stuff. The thing is that it's left him with, like many of us feel, an existential sadness, an existential burden. And we all will go through this, whether it's losing a religion or the ops code or listening to Jordan Peterson. Like, just there's existential break your brain everywhere on the internet now. And it didn't used to be that way. It used to be life was very simple. You had these very simple worldviews and there's, you know, that was it. There's an entire generation now that's it's just obvious that there's an existential crisis because they know too much. You know, and there's too much science that you just have right here at your fingertips on the phone. So how do you not? And then you're young and you're like, what the hell do I do with this? So that's kind of what I want to talk about is like, okay, great. So you've been researching, you've been figuring stuff out, you've been taking in fucking science from all these fucking NTP nerds, and then you've realized that the universe is a joke, functions are a joke, your life's a joke, your mom's a joke, beer bottles are a joke. And so you're like, okay, fascinating information. Now I'm really sad, I'm really depressed, I'm really lost, everything's feeling really meaningless. So now what do? I'll tell you what you don't fucking do. You don't go get more information. I know, disclaimer, consume last alert, right? So just like hear me here for a second. The problem is not more information. You're not going to solve it with more information. Like, oh, okay, I've watched 10 TED Talks and I'm really depressed. I need to watch 100 more TED Talks. Probably not that direction. It's probably not more information in that direction of, okay, Donald, so what's the answer of the book? Like, when do you get to the other side of the universe and then all of a sudden God comes back and everything's okay? I don't think it's that way. I think it's, if you were to look at a spectrum, you have the, and I'm joking here, you have the NTPs that fucked it all up. You have the NTPs, and all these guys are NTPs, Einstein, all these guys, they've all figured out, okay, we figured out how the universe works and everything's a big fucking joke, right? Carl Jung, it's just Einstein, Elon Musk, all the way down the line, these fucking NTPs, Jordan Peterson. So they wrecked the movie for all of us, because they're like, brrr, and we're like, thanks, fucking thanks. Now what do I do? I think what we do, again, I'm kind of like, this is not real, but kind of joking around here. I think the opposite side is the monkey functions. It's the SFPs. It's Goggins. It's Jocko. It's Gary V. It's C.T. Fletcher. It's Greg Plitt. They're like, hey, yeah, nerd stuff, crazy. Anyways, the here, the now, pressure on self, animalistic, strength, hard times, building character, right? Building character, building will. That's completely a different set of the human experience as holy shit that you see all this stuff. And I see that this all of us, we're just like stacked to the moon on, I know the answers to the universe. And then it's like, well, how you doing over here? You're like, people like don't even know that there's a category over here. Oh yeah, I saw a Jocko video, Goggins video. Yeah, kind of cool, whatever. It's like, oh no. Like these have got to...
You know, Nietzsche with his, if you gaze long into the abyss gazes into you. How's these ideas change you as a person?
It's been very, very difficult. This stuff is not just abstract theory building because it's about us. Sometimes I realize that there's this big division. I mean, my mind is doing all this science and coming up with these conclusions. And the rest of me is not integrating. It's just like, I don't believe it. I just don't believe this. I mean, it seems so. As I start to take it seriously, I get scared myself. It's like the first time I thought it might be possible that we're not seeing the truth was in 1986. It was from some mathematics we were doing, and when that hit me, it hit me like a ton of bricks. I had to sit down. It was scary. It was really a shock to the system.
Fucking right. Anybody else feel that way? So this is the Donald Hoffman, the guy who just knows this stuff the most. Super double observer. He's got the masculine NE double activated above his SI, savior SI, same type as Elon Musk, same type as Bill Nye. And so a guy that would be able to see and understand this the most, and then the demon SIFE going, holy shit! Like it's the emotions. It's the emotions. The animalistic SF is going, holy shit! My NT figured this out, and that has nothing to do with my chemicals, my body, my animalistic, my primal, my love for my family, my fear for the economy or people or judgment or whatever. Those two do not connect.
But that is, again, not my default. That is, I have to make a really conscious choice to say, okay, I know intellectually this is all an interface. I'm going to take the headset off and so forth, and then immediately sink back into the game and just be out there playing the game and get lost in. So I'm always lost in the game unless I literally consciously choose to stop thinking.
Isn't it terrifying to acknowledge that, to look beyond the game? Isn't it?
It scares the hell out of me. It really is scary because I'm so attached. I'm attached to this body.
So it's a really good interview. So he's talking about the fear. So fear has nothing to do with, did you read a book? Fear has nothing to do, did you watch a TED Talk? Like, you can manage fear. You can go through fear training. You can make that a priority in your life. You're like, I need to deal with fear. I need to deal with insecurity. I need to deal with, I don't know what to do. I need to deal with this scares the hell out of me. Now, there are some books on that, but the books are just going to route you right back to, you got to fucking get to work. You got to go watch Greg Plitt and C.T. Fletcher and Goggins and Gary Vee and all the guys. Like, no, stop watching them from interesting. No. You got to watch them from, okay, I have paralyzing fear and anxiety and depression and existentialism and life is meaningless and I don't know what to do. Okay, so I need to go this way? Well, I don't see that. I don't feel that. I don't believe that. I don't want to. You're not going to want to. That's the whole joke. That's the whole point. You got to get towards I got to deal with this fear and I got to build this back up. That's going to mean, your runs, your cold showers, your workouts, your jobs, you're pushing yourself to do stuff where you're actually being fucking physically tested. Because if you wait for the fear to come to you, you're traumatized. I'm just sitting around, I'm just enjoying life, and then I watched the fucking Peterson video and I got traumatized. Oh, this fucking sucks, and now you're spinning. Like, if you're like, okay, I know this is scary, I know this is hard for me, let me take this on in little bits, that's what then creates the growth, the muscle.
I'm attached to this body. I'm attached to the interface.
Are you ever worried about breaking your brain a bit? Meaning, like, it's some of these ideas, when you think about reality, even with like Einstein.
I spend a couple hours a day just sitting in meditation on this and facing the rebellion in me that goes to the core. It feels like it goes to the core of my being, rebelling against these ideas. So here, it's very, very interesting for me to look at this because, so here I'm a scientist and I'm a person. The science is really clear. I'm completely attached to all this stuff. I'm attached to my body. I'm attached to the headset. I'm attached to my car, attached to people. I'm attached to all of it. And yet I know as an absolute fact, I'm going to walk away from all of it. I'm going to die.
Like we've always had this image of like holding a lever down. This came from a friend from years ago of like, it feels like when you have to do your demons or get into this existential world, whatever, like basically whenever you have to go against your saviors, it feels like you like physically have to hold a lever down and it's so exhausting. And then as soon as you let go to take a break, boom, you go back to unconscious, right? That's why video typing is so hard. That's why seeing people are so hard. That's why really listening to what people are saying and taking in what they're saying, it's so exhausting and depressing. Because if you really heard and really understood what your friend is saying to you and actually took that in, you'd be depressed and drained. But luckily you have saviors. You're like, yeah, cool, got it. So that's what it feels like when you're actually listening. You're actually dealing with this stuff and forcing yourself because your body doesn't want to do it. Everybody thinks it's like this. Happy, easy. Oh, I'm going to just look at other people's points of view. Oh, I'm just going to study the personality code. Oh, I'm just going to just look at existentialism. Oh, I'm going to just see my saviors and demons. Oh, I'm just going to go fucking type somebody. It's this fucking easy. No, it's not fucking easy. It's really, really hard. If your face doesn't look like one of these two faces, you're doing it fucking wrong. Think how hard and draining it is for fucking this guy to show up to a fucking interview, to show up to a fucking podcast. You deal with Lex Friedman, a black belt in jiu-jitsu. You got to go over to this guy's fucking house. Like, that's really, really hard for some sleepy, mopey INTP. But it's going to be doing that. That's what's going to face the fears. That's what, you know what I'm saying? Like, you're not going to get it from watching and then processing, watching and processing. There's got to be an outflow. And that's what Elon Musk has really talked about. I'm not trying to be anyone's savior. I'm just trying to think about the future and not be fucking sad. Like, he sees it. He knows it. Like, this guy has existential dread more than any of us. He sees way more than any of us. So what does he do? Does he sit around and watch more videos about it? Does he sit around and be sad about it? Yeah, of course. It's going to be his saviors. He can't not. But really, what's getting this guy very free is just that he's out doing shit.
Essentially, it's important to take whatever actions we can think of to address the existential risks that affect the future of consciousness.
There's a whole generation coming through who seem really sad about the future. What would you say to them?
Well, I think if you want the future to be good, you must make it so. Take action to make it good, and it will be.